I think it would be fair to say that a lot of people out there have a lot of things in their kitchen, but maybe not the right things in their kitchen.
Oh, that's so true. Or like, they get the gadgets at Christmas time and then they use it once or they don't even know how to use it, so it ends up in a drawer.
Yes, we were just talking about a gadget I got for Christmas this year.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be diving into the things you actually need in your kitchen, how and why we use them, and maybe some of the things we disagree on as well, huh?
Well, and things that just are practical for me that you absolutely don't even need.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's dive in. Okay. So excited to be here today with Kathlena the Allergy Chef. We came together today because we are both, would you say expert? Is expert fair?
I feel like it's fair.
Okay. Experts in cooking at home. Kathlena, because she is dealing with lots of food allergies and she's amazing at teaching food allergy families how to take control of the food that they eat by cooking food at home. Me, because I'm always trying to make it easier for busy families to eat healthy more often. And so we are, I think passionate is a good word about the things that we put in our respective kitchens to make the process of feeding our family easier.
Absolutely.
So today we're going to bring that knowledge to you. We're going to start at the top with the things we think you need the most, and then we're going to get more complicated as we go, huh?
Yep,
okay.
Absolutely.
So what's the first thing you think?
I think people absolutely need a cutting board and a knife that they like. Because all too often we hear about how, you've got to get this really expensive brand of cutting knives, and then you pick it up and it doesn't feel good in your hand, but because so-and-so told you it was good, you bought it anyway. And at the end of the day, you just don't like the knife.
100%.
Meaning you are less likely to use it, less likely to cook at home, because the tools don't feel good in your hand. It's like, when you pick up your knife, it should feel good.
Sure.
Like,
it's funny because we both brought our stuff together today, our cutting boards and our knives, and they're matchy.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean this is the right knife for you, but I've gotten in trouble multiple times for recommending this knife to people who wanted to give it as a gift because it wasn't expensive and fancy enough.
That's hilarious.
But the reality is this knife, it's about $40 on Amazon. It's a Victorinox Fibrox, is the most used knife in my kitchen. And I think people go wrong with these precious knives that they're afraid to use, or worse is I see people using steak knives to cut their onions.
Oh!
Right, okay, back me up here, because I get some flack for telling people that they shouldn't use steak knives to cut their onions. Back me up on your reaction on that. Why?
It's just not for onions.
It takes so long, right? You're cutting so tiny and you have to use so much force and pressure. It's actually more work.
Oh my goodness. And then your eyes are gonna burn for longer.
Yes. Let's talk cutting boards, because that's the next big thing on our list. You guys, this is basic stuff. So if you don't have a sharp knife that you love, start there.
Yeah.
And then if you have cutting boards that are running away from you, or that everything you're cutting is falling off of them, then this is your next step.
I love that.
That happens,
right?
right?
No, you're absolutely right. They run away from you. Yeah. So this is an older style cutting board.
We both have similar stuff. Is that Epicurean?
Yes, it's the same brand.
Yeah.
The moment I saw yours, I knew it was the same. So this is the older style without the rubber grips on the corners, whereas Amy's here has these rubber grips. They're really awesome because if we were to both put our cutting board down and just kind of give it a little push, you
as
can
if
see,
you're cutting.
Yeah, mine's moving and hers is not. These grips are fantastic.
Yeah, I love them. I love the Epicurean because they're knife friendly. They don't dull your knives. Plastic actually dulls your knife more.
That's true.
They're made from a composite wood, and they can go in the dishwasher.
Oh, I love that.
That's amazing.
We have a thing where pretty much if it's not dishwasher safe, there's a good chance we're not gonna buy it.
100%.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. That's that should have been our first thing.
You
need a dishwasher.
You need a dishwasher, and everything's got to be dishwasher safe. Now, on the mind of a dishwasher, if you're dealing with severe food allergies.
Okay, yes, tell me.
And you're a mixed allergy household. So you and I, if we lived together, we'd be a mixed allergy household.
Sure.
The dishwasher should have a high heat sanitation mode to make sure that your dishes are at least getting really sanitized and removing any issues where any kind of allergen residue is hanging around. I will do dishes.
Back to the cutting boards, the issue at hand. The thing that I see most often is people with good intention are getting those colorful plastic cutting boards to separate what they're cutting where, and they're sliding away. So first I want to talk about the sliding away, because it is wasting time when you are trying to get your board not to move.
It's not very safe either.
It's not safe either, exactly. So you got your sharp knife and now your cutting board is moving. But with this, I've found a lot of success with just wetting a kitchen towel lightly, dampen it, and put it underneath here, and that keeps it from sliding around. So no big deal if you don't have these, but if you're going to buy a new cutting board, I would get,
Absolutely.
Why not?
Well, and, I have, when we were first buying some cutting boards, I didn't quite want to splurge on the Epicurean, and then I decided to. Best decision ever.
Yeah.
It's totally. And these come in different sizes, just so you guys know. We both have the large cutting boards, but they come in smaller sizes. So if you have a smaller kitchen, you could get a smaller one, but Amy here is a huge fan of the big kahuna.
You know me so well.
Go big,
You know what the reason is? It's because I'm so lazy. I'm so lazy. And if I have to unload my cutting board all the time and keep it super duper clean, then it's taking up time that I don't need. Whereas if I'm chopping onions here and then I'm going to chop some carrots, I can just push them to the side so it gives me room. And it means that things aren't all over my counter and my floor. They stay on the cutting board, and it's a lot easier to clean that than every single part of my kitchen.
I would totally agree. So. Now, for those of you who need a separate fruit veg and a meat and a fish type cutting board, these actually come in multiple colors, as you can see. And so you could either get 3 large ones that are 3 completely different colors, or if you need to have them all the same color, you can do what we do, and we just label ours with Sharpie. So we've got one that says FV, and we've got one that says meat. And so when they're put away in the cabinet, this part is facing outward, so you can see which one you're about to grab.
That's such a good tip. I use just this little, I do have one plastic one that I use for meat because I just find that to be easier. Then I know that's my meat cutting board. So I use that one, but I think having a visual cue is really wise.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of visual cues. Plus, if you live in a mixed allergy household, we actually use the color red. Indicating that anything that's red is for the allergy-free foods that we're cooking in our home. So if you're in a mixed allergy household, you can get one cutting board of one color that indicates safe for child A, and then child B will have a cutting board that's a different color.
Cool.
Because with some allergies, you cannot share cutting boards whatsoever, just because of all the scratches.
All right, so the next thing we have on our list of things that people need to have if they're cooking more in this new year for whatever reason that might look like is some good pots and pans.
But wait, what if they're watching in August?
Whenever you're cooking more.
All right, I was just making sure.
No, that's a good point.
Right?
If
you're here in August, please cook. It's okay.
This information does not expire, and a new year isn't the only time you can start a new habit,
Doesn't expire. So, pots and pans are huge. Now, do you have a lot of pots and pans in your house?
I have a lot, but maybe not as many as you might think. So I'm curious to have this conversation because I think this is one of the places that people sometimes go crazy, take up all their storage with pots and pans, but I probably use only 4 pots and pans on the regular in my house.
I can see that. I think if you host a lot of meals, or if you are dealing with a lot of kids and you happen to have 1 or 2 dishwashers, having a truckload of pots and pans is awesome because you can just keep making a mess. Or if you do a lot of batch cooking, it's great to have a lot. I think for people who are just starting out, new, especially if it's one person or maybe 2 adults and 1 small child, those cutesy sets, they're not the worst plan. I mean, you could get away with 2 or 3 pans that you absolutely enjoy, and then maybe a pot or something.
Yeah.
And you could get away with it. But interestingly, so we have a lot of pots and pans.
We have a lot of kids.
We have
and a lot of food allergies.
Yeah.
Right? I think our perspectives may differ a a bit here because of those 2
Absolutely.
things.
So I'll tell you what we do.
Okay.
And then you tell us what you do.
Okay, cool.
Because I get the feeling you have 7 and we have 70.
That's probably true.
Okay, yeah.
7 is probably about the right number, too.
I think,
that I have.
All right, so we have what's called a mixed allergy household, and that means that not everyone has the same allergy profile. Now, sometimes we all eat the same food. Actually, not really, because I never eat their food. Sometimes everyone else can eat the same thing, and then other times they're not eating the same thing.
Sure.
So what we have is, number 1, we have 3 separate storage locations of pots and pans. There's the big section where everything that I do all of our recipe development with, and the stuff that mainly everyone can all eat, those are all in one spot, and it's color-coded. Then we have a separate space in a different part of the kitchen for the kids who can have major food allergens. So wheat, dairy, egg. They can have their own set, and it's a much smaller set because they just do less cooking.
Okay.
And then there's my stuff, which is stored outside of the kitchen, and it's a completely different looking set. That way there's no confusion whose it is, because if anybody else cooks with my stuff, they either keep it or we throw it away.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I was going to ask you. How do you keep track of all that? There's got to be a trick.
Okay, color coding. That's a big deal. So this is red. This is also red. And the kids actually decided. Did I ever tell you about that time our stove blew up?
No.
Okay, fun time. So the stove blew up. It more like exploded. I mean,
not totally blew up, just exploded. Got it. Okay.
We were all deathly afraid. We ended up living on a hot plate for over a year because we couldn't decide on a new stove. And then we finally did.
We forgot to list the stove as an important piece of kitchen equipment.
By the way, guys, stoves are important. We have electric, which is great for us because I can't even do gas stuff anyway because of the corn. But, so originally we had like the kind with the burners, you know, like the 4 burners that you could pull out and wash or whatever. So now we have an induction stovetop, which is done with magnets and it's heated differently.
And you have to use certain kinds of pans on it.
So the trick when buying a new pan, if you have an induction stovetop, is to take a magnet with you. And if the magnet sticks to the pan is induction ready. And what's cool is if it can work on induction, it can also work in non-induction.
Sure.
But it doesn't work both ways.
Yeah.
So when the stove exploded and we finally picked the new stove, we let the kids decide because one of the things is they were actually afraid to be in the kitchen because before there really was a trick to it all. It was like, you can only use this one for this kid and this one for that kid. And it was, no one really knew the trick but me.
Right. And by the way, that's like a huge issue for most moms who have taken control of the kitchen, whether they like cooking or not.
Yeah.
And then they're like the only one who knows, and they're like, why does nobody help me here? And
Yes!
then I talk to them and they're like, well, everyone's afraid because you have to load the dishwasher the right way and you can't use this and you can't use that. And it's like you've become this, I was just teaching my 5-year-old about bottlenecks, like what that phrase meant. Like you've become the unwilling bottleneck, right? So
yeah,
food allergy or not, I think this happens. So I love the idea of like simplifying and having visual cues for things. So how did you guys decide on these visual cues?
I am so grateful that you told me that. I thought I was the only one.
No.
Okay, so we lovingly call Susie, we call her Kid 5, just because she's not our actual kid. She lived with us for several years. She was from Korea, and our families have been friends for forever. But she decided that we needed a different color.
Okay.
Yeah, this all started with Susie saying,
okay, smart.
Can we have a different color? And I was
Very
like,
wise.
Yeah, we can have a different color. That's not a big deal. And so the kids actually amongst themselves decided that red would be the color that they were not allowed to touch.
Okay,
so,
like stop.
Yeah, that's exactly what it meant. Red meant stop and think. If kid 2 cannot eat this food, do not touch this pan.
Okay.
That's what it really meant. So we have every pot and pan you could ever want or need in red.
Got
and
it.
then everybody else kind of has this mismatch.
Okay.
Because they're not doing recipe development. They're not doing the different things.
Right.
And then, of course, my set is very limited because I can't have everything under the sun.
Right.
So one of my favorite things is this great colander. I love dancing in the kitchen with it.
Yes. Okay. I have a colander like this too. Mine's metal, but I love this because it goes over the stove, over the sink.
Yeah. And you don't need 2 people. Do you realize we've been doing the 2 people thing for forever? Because one person would go in and hold it.
Like and then this heavy pot.
Yeah, and then somebody else got to pour the pot. And then it's always funny listening to them fight. Don't burn me! Don't burn me! Be careful with the pot! Like, it's hilarious. Whereas now it's like, boom.
And then if something needs to drain, like if I'm salting eggplant, I'll salt it and then put it in here, and then it has like the space to drain into my sink instead of having it over something else.
Yeah, we love this so much that we've got that over there as well.
Cool. Let me hold this up. So this is the 2 color situation.
Yeah, so this red one is for wheat-free items because one of our kids has a severe wheat allergy.
Okay.
So everything that contains wheat gets done in here, and they're only allowed to use the kitchen sink for draining if the kitchen sink is actually clear. If not, they actually drain it outside in the plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Pasta water in the plants.
Okay.
And I love these because they are collapsible and we desperately need the space.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we have every pot and pan you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
They take up a lot of space.
Yeah, so my metal ones aren't collapsible, which is like the downside.
Yeah,
so
and see we have this little one too that's really great.
I love that.
And you can use it for like fruit as well. Now, we call this the Big Bertha.
Okay.
Big Bertha. We have 4 of these.
Okay.
We have 2 in red, 1 for everyone else, and then another one that we have as a backup.
But for those folks who don't know you, who don't watch your stories all the time, which they're missing out at the Allergy Chef on Instagram, you need to go watch because they do a ton of batch cooking. Like they have a whole freezer dedicated to batch cooking.
This is true.
So yes, a large skillet is helpful. I own one of them because I have a family of 4, first of all.
Yeah.
I don't have allergies, and I'm not like filling an entire like wall-sized freezer with stuff, right?
And you're not recipe developing.
Your needs may vary, but a skillet like this is so huge because it allows you to saute and cook stuff in there without like the high sides of like a soup pot.
And
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why do you like you have a mix of Teflon nonstick and non-nonstick?
I want to tell you.
Why? Yeah, tell me about that.
Several reasons. Number one, different sizes.
Okay.
Because some sizes you can only get certain styles.
Sure.
Number two, price.
Okay.
So price is a big factor. Oftentimes, I've got some great culinary friends and they like to give me a hard time because I use nonstick. And that's like the dirtiest thing you could ever use in the culinary world, right? Here's the thing with food allergies though. Nonstick remembers. Mm-hmm. So if you are new to living with food allergies and you mess up, let's say you outfit your kitchen with $300 cast iron pots and pans, like $300 a pop, because you and I have seen some of those really nice ones. And because nonstick remembers, and you mess up and you put the wrong thing in there, you now have to question, do I have to throw this away? Or do I clean it 6 times? Or what do I do? When these kinds of pans get scratched, you can't guarantee safety. Yeah. Whereas, and this has actually happened to us several times, with a $25 pan, I can throw it away and I don't feel guilty. Yeah. In fact, the kids were being really helpful one day, and they took our best sized pot and they accidentally cooked wheat in it, thinking it was gluten-free. They didn't realize it because the package actually did not scream gluten-free. Yeah. But because it was a brand that they had seen before, they thought it was. Right. In their own defense, it was not malicious. They were making dinner. And I looked at it and I was like, throw it away. Yeah. And it was so heartbreaking because it was the best size, and I still have not been able to replace that one, by the way.
I love that perspective though, because it tells me that a different answer is right for everyone, right? Like at home, we don't have a lot of nonstick. I have an all-clad set that my husband and I got for our wedding. It's dishwasher safe. It's stainless steel. We've been using that forever. But we don't have that like added thing, right? So all I need to do is make sure I don't like burn it, and I can really easily clean it if I do, because you can use like Barkeeper's Friend. So I like it because of its durability, right? Yeah. So I feel like that's such an important piece of this conversation of just like understanding the different mix. What if you were to tell someone like who's starting out like, okay, I'm gonna do this allergy split, or maybe I just don't have pots and pans I love right now. What are the like maybe I know you have 70 pans, but if you could only pick 6. What are the 6 pans? But yeah, I'm putting you on the spot here. Okay, if I should have told you ahead of time.
I know, right? That's right. If I can pick 6, definitely this is one. Okay. Okay.
So like a big, deep skillet.
Yeah, you gotta have a Big Bertha. That's one.
Okay. Don't search Big Bertha. You're not gonna find it. It's called a large, deep skillet.
It's so funny because in our house, everybody gets the joke. And other people, they're like, what?
No, I like the joke. I just don't want anyone searching Amazon to be like, Big Bertha. Unless you're going to start selling them. This is genius. Hashtag ad.
Big Bertha by the Allergy Chef. Yeah.
Okay. So you need a big skillet.
That's number 1. A really great saucepan. It's about this big. Okay. That's number 2.
And a saucepan is like the high side. So like literally if you were making like sauce. This is...
that's kind of short.
Okay, but like something like along the lines of this, right? So like pot versus pan.
Yeah, so that's number 2. A nice big 5-quart pot for boiling pasta.
Yes, 100%. Yep.
And then number 4 and 5, I get 6.
Yeah.
I would split it between 3 different skillet sizes.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Cool. So we've talked about cutting boards and knives and pots and pans, and I'm excited to talk to you about like the other things that you have in your kitchen because you're making and storing so much. And folks might not know that you also run a commercial kitchen. So I don't bake.
That's right.
Like
they were the banana muffins.
Okay, every once in a while I bake. If I share a baking recipe, it's easy because I was able to do it. Mostly I don't bake, which is to everyone's benefit. So I'm curious what you use as a professional in terms of baking.
I love that. To everyone's benefit.
It's true.
You crack me up.
But I roast things, and so I use baking sheets like this. So tell us what you have.
All right, so this is an older style baking tray that we used to get. This one's made by Wilton. I don't know if they still sell them, but what I absolutely detest is, here, you hold that side. Okay. Like, hold it nice and firm. Okay. But you can, like,
they're flimsy.
See that?
Okay. Okay. We don't want flimsy.
We don't want that.
Okay.
These used to be sold in, like, 3-packs, so they seemed really affordable.
Right.
And it was, like, a really great deal.
Right, but look, it's like...
You can see it. And then, here's what's funny. When it's in the oven baking, it goes pop! pop, you hear it, and when
I've
you
had
pull it
that
out,
happen
it's
before.
like warped, and you're
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Okay. So
But I
don't buy
will
these.
tell you this, which was separate from that. This is a great purchase. This is excellent for bacon. If you like crispy bacon, what you do is you place this inside a fritter.
Yeah.
And then you just put your bacon over this, and all the fat drips down, and you end up with this delicious crispy bacon. And then you can just take the lard and save it for doing other things later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love doing that too. This is also what I was trying to talk about when we were talking about air fryers.
Yeah.
We'll
tell you
that
guys
was
about
off
that
camera.
later. Yeah.
Either way, if you want to get like a good crisp on, say, like a homemade chicken tender, or even, frankly, a frozen chicken tender, putting it on this is going to allow the air circulation that's going to get it nice and crispy in the oven versus frying it. So I love this as a tool.
These are excellent. I mean,
So what's it called?
No idea.
Okay.
Now this is made by Nordic Ware. You hold that side.
Okay.
And you can see.
Oh, I have this one. I think I bought it at Costco.
Right? Yeah. These, I think, were either a 2-pack or a 3-pack at Costco. Pretty sure it's a 3-pack because this is the smaller one.
Yeah.
The larger one, we actually give those to Carlton's mom because our oven isn't big enough.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of jealous. I wish I
Yeah.
had a bigger oven.
They also make an even smaller one that fits in my toaster oven.
Yeah, we have like 4 of those for one of our
amazing.
toaster ovens. And they're called, those are called a quarter sheet. So this is called a half sheet. They're excellent. They're dishwasher safe. I got this glass storage container, which is awesome.
This I use differently than that though. So let's talk about this for like pantry organization.
So
and then we'll come to
pantry
this.
organization is a huge thing if you're living with food allergies. I'm sure it's big for people like you as well. But I feel like your side of the aisle can get away with less organization.
I will say that I think it's an underrated part of any healthy kitchen though, because for a couple of reasons. One is just like visually that idea of not being the bottleneck. I find that if I can do the 10 minutes of work that it takes to reorganize my pantry, like from the mess explosion that it is now, I'm actually doing that this week on Instagram. That if I can do that, then everyone can be empowered to like find what food we have in the house.
Got it. Awesome. But I want to speak to this really quick because as you're talking, I'm thinking about this. So I don't know if you guys, I don't know how often you guys follow Amy, but Amy does this really awesome thing where she puts these on the dinner table and serves food from them. It's genius. Like I was telling her the other day, she is a genius. But here's what's even better. They sell, different brands make these in different. So I have a set like these. My set is green. We could easily have a blue set for you, a green set for me. You store it all in the same place, and now each person knows what they have access to.
That's a good point.
So I love that. But these are awesome for dry ingredients. They're called pop-top lids, and they're made by OXO, and it just does that. So you don't have to do the screw-on, screw-off each time, because you have that style.
I use the mason jars, but I don't run a bakery.
Yeah, and I feel like for what we do, this is just so easy.
Such an ingenious time-saving thing, too. Like, some of the most obvious things that I share are the things that people are like, whoa, mind blown. That's going to save me a lot more time than if I perfectly plan my meal plan or like whatever it is. It's like some of those small tweaks. I also love that these are square because it like optimizes your storage space.
I am a giant square. You know that, right? My car is a square. I'm a square. Our logo's a square. Like, I'm just a square. So, yeah.
The square is where it's at.
The square.
So that's what you're storing things in. Okay, you got some mason jars.
We do have mason jars. Interestingly, if you have a corn allergy, the safest thing to do is to reverse this lid.
Interesting.
This has actually got corn residue on it. So if you have a severe corn allergy, you don't want this touching your food.
Okay.
You want
Good
the
to know.
other side touching your food.
Yeah.
But just make sure that it's clean when you do it, or else then you have like the dirty top touching your food. That's weird. And these freeze really well. These are excellent. So this kind of complements your glass storage.
Yeah, so these ones are more for like, this is for like pantry storage, what we had talked about. And now these things are more for like prepared food storage. So
now this freezes well as well. I actually stick some of these in the freezer.
They're kind of expensive though, so like I tend not to put these in the freezer. If I'm freezing something, I'll use my mason jar or I'll use a Ziploc bag.
Okay.
Because I don't mind that like being in use for a while. It could be gone for a while and then I'll be like looking for this specific size. So I like these for the like fridge storage, and then I like them also because you can stick them straight in the microwave or the oven.
Okay.
And heat things up and then like you said, serve them in there, and then the leftovers just get covered and put back in the fridge.
It's hilarious that you say that because whenever I batch cook for myself, there's never enough containers, and then I end up using the glass ones with the lids.
And you're like, where'd all my glass stuff go?
And then I'm like, there's nowhere to put anything.
Exactly. Okay, but
I feel your pain.
I love these things.
So these are really great. We get these by the 100 pack on Amazon. These are called the 1 pound container.
Okay.
And then
I've never seen that cutie size before.
Yeah, so you have 2 lid options. You've got this clear plastic lid option here, and you can write on it, but I don't know. It's not bad. I like this one better. This one's flat, but obviously you can't see through it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what's funny. We used this style for years and just wrote on it, but Carlton didn't like them. He's like, you can't really see inside of them.
I don't know what I'm getting.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's written there. He goes, I know, but still. I'm like, men, right? So then we switched over to this style. Okay?
Yeah.
And he liked it because he could see what it was. But it turns out, now you're feeding little kids, so this doesn't apply yet.
Okay.
But we were feeding, our kids have always been big eaters, but like teenagers, like really big eaters, right? So this little extra space here, I would fill up. When I see space, I fill it up, right? I do that. But with this, you have to be very mindful because you don't want it to spill over. Turns out, this little extra bit created food waste.
Oh, interesting.
They literally would not eat the last 4 bites. And then they would drive me insane because they would take the last 4 bites and put it in the refrigerator.
I know.
Like, who does that?
Everyone,
they did it
except the person running the kitchen.
Single time.
It's very nice of them to not waste food.
Do you know I've gone through 200 of these things before I switched back to this style?
I like this too because it seems to me that it would stack better.
It does
like
actually.
It's sturdier stacking if you're really freezing.
So in the freezer, this gets a little brittle, in my opinion, whereas this does not. Cool. But interestingly, in the refrigerator, this holds up better with like wet, soggy foods. So if you're doing like sloppy joe, and then you stack your sloppy joes like this, they can start to sink in. Yeah. And then your sloppy joe starts to come out.
Cool. Yeah. Not cool. Yeah. Not cool. But
I mean, these are the things you only learn by stacking 6 pounds of sloppy joe.
Well, and I was thinking cool because like because I feed my family from the middle of our table family style because I can. Yeah. These kinds of things are perfect. But if I were feeding people individual portions, like we're all going to have enchiladas, but someone needs non-dairy cheese. Yeah. And I was going to like cook them differently, then this would be a really cool way to have like more individual portion sizes.
Well, and the cool thing is too, so we have 2 toaster ovens for the kids, one for the allergy kid and one for like not allergy kid, right? They can put these directly in the toaster oven. They just take the lids off. I always encourage them to thaw overnight, whatever they want the next day. But teenagers, so
I have the same struggle. This is a different topic for another day that I would love to tackle with you. Is like effectively freezing food because it's no joke. It can be really tricky, and I feel like it's a big barrier for people. But
is it really though?
Oh yeah.
I feel like
I'm always telling Kathlena what people struggle with.
Right now, this is the last thing that I love. These are just paper trays, and you can bake them and you can freeze them. Yeah. And you reheat them and thaw straight in them. They're a great portion. So this is our banana bread recipe. The kids eat half in 1 serving. But here's what's
half. Try harder. I could eat that whole thing.
Yeah, but because of how much maple.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, so it's maple.
Totally kidding.
It's maple sugar, but I'm still like, yeah, you're not eating all that sugar.
Yeah.
Like,
I understand.
You get half. But funnily enough, they will thaw it, eat their half, and then stick the other half back in the freezer. And again, I'm like, why not just put it in the fridge overnight or share it?
There's no winning for losing.
I'm always telling them, like, share them, you know, like you eat half, I eat half. No.
So they're kids.
They're kids.
That's what you're saying.
It's bloody ridiculous. So those are the containers that we like.
Yeah, I would say these are like our main things that are the basics that everyone should
really
have
are.
in the kitchen.
Honestly, and these are the go-tos that we go to all the time. I mean, we might have a couple of other things, but this is our bread and butter.
And to me, like, no pun intended, to me, like, if you have what we talked about, like a good knife, a good cutting board, the pots and pans, and then some baking sheets and some storage containers. Like, you could do almost everything you need with that.
Absolutely.
So anything we talk about after this is like bonus points.